Hey, it's Scott with GoMioji Drones. Today we're going to be getting into a drone build using commercial off-the-shelf parts. Let's get started. Well, today's project is going to be building a drone from scratch using the Pixhawk flight controller. And we're going to start today by preparing the power distribution board, the controller, power controller, and preparing the wires that we will then solder to the power distribution board. And we have here the power distribution board that came with the 450 millimeter frame kit. And that's what we have right here. Now, to prep this power distribution board, we're going to need to flux and solder these contact points here. And to do that, we are going to first need to flux the area of the contacts. Now, these are the contact points that we're talking about. This right here is going to be for the power module, and then each set here is for the ESC, or each electronic speed control connection point. So we'll go ahead and start by getting a little bit of a flux here, and we're just going to pre-treat all of the connection points. The flux allows the solder to flow and to actually stick. I think it has something to do with that prevents oxidation. Could be wrong, but I know it don't work without it. So, okay, got all these points prepped with the flux. I'm going to set this off to the side. Get our solder, and the solder that we're using is, it looks like it's a 0.6 millimeter diameter, just regular solder. Get this ready. And we're at 480 degrees Celsius, and we're just going to go ahead and touch off, melt the solder or the flux, and kind of heat up the contact point, and then we'll just feed the solder in and make a little bed of solder there. And we're just going to go through and do that to all the rest of the points. I'm going to be careful not to put too much solder to where it overflows into areas where it's not, where you don't want it to be. And I'm going back over because I want to make sure that I have enough of a solder bed for these wires that I'm going to be attaching from the ESC and the power control module. Okay, I think, get this one again, I think that's going to do it. I'm trying to get it just right, and you know, the enemy of good is better. And so I'm going to stop here. I think that that's going to get it. Maybe hit this one more time, then I'm going to stop. I don't want to overdo it and then have a mess. Okay, there we go. All right. The power distribution board is prepped. The contacts for the power controller and each electronic speed controller has been prepped. And then the next step is going to be for us to prepare the wires of the ESCs and the power controller to be soldered to the power distribution board. So let's go ahead and do that. Okay, so here we are. We're back. We've got the speed controller. I take that back. The power controller and the 4-speed electronic speed controllers. And I'm going to strip the wires back, and I'm going to tin the ends of the wires. Now, for the electronic, or for the power controller, I have to cut off the female plug end. The reason being is the battery plugs into the male end. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to trim these back. Just a little bit. It don't have to be a whole lot of wire left over, but enough so that it fits on there good enough. Just right. Okay. All right. And after I get this ready, it's going to be soldered right here. This is the power controller right there. And then each electronic speed controller will go off of one of these 4 contact points. Okay, so first things first, let's go ahead and strip these back just a little bit more. We're going to see that's going to be enough. Yeah. And here's what I'm looking for. I'm looking to have the wire, exposed wire, be as much as the soldered contact point is. That's what I'm looking to do. So 3 more. If this is something you're looking to do, build your own drone, you can go and just spend the money and get a kit that's already been figured out for you. You know, first you want to decide on what you want the drone to do, and you can go from there and just buy the kit that provides that capability for you. Or you can, and I think this is probably the more interesting way to go, and that would be to figure out your requirements for what you want to do and build it on the components that you pick. You can, you know, a kit's typically going to give you one good item. You know, one quality, maybe you're just going to get 4 quality motors and then everything else is just generic, whatever. You can actually build your own drone without a kit by buying the best components that you think, or maybe you're on a price crunch and you can kind of pick and choose what's important to you and what you think in building a drone. Because at the end of the day, when you're all done with that build, that's your drone. And if fly it, I mean, it's yours. And if something happens to it, you're going to be able to fix it. With what's going on in the world with DJI, or at least in America with DJI, they may not be around, and I hate that. But this is your opportunity to go out and buy the components and build your own drone. And you don't need DJI or the government to tell you who you can and can't buy a drone from. You just go make your own. Anyway, so back to this. We're going to go ahead and finish stripping out these wires. And then we're going to go ahead and tin them. And that's what I've always heard it called when I was in the Air Force. You're tinning the wire ends. But we're going to go ahead and dip the ends in the flux. And then we're going to go ahead and heat that up. There we go. We want to be careful. We don't want this heat to go back to the actual controller and burn it out as that heat travels down the wire. So I would say let's move fast. Now we're going to go ahead and hit these electronic speed controllers. I think that gets it for the prep. Speed controllers and the power controller. So to get started, I'm just going to go ahead and heat it up. Feed some solder into it. And hopefully, if I did everything right, it's going to cool and solidify. Well, I'm going to have to call that good. I don't know. Looks like it'd be all right. Okay, that looks pretty good. I'm going to say think that'll be fine. Next, we're going to take an electronic speed controller and do the same thing. Here we go. Okay, we've got the ESC wires and the power controller soldered to the power distribution board, and everything appears to be connected tight. There's plenty of solder used. I don't think these connections are going to have any issues at all. Okay, so the next step is going to be for us to go ahead and continue the assembly of the airframe. And get started by attaching the power distribution module or plate to the airframe, the motor arms. So as you can see here, the motor arms are, I think, how is this going to go? Yeah, I might have messed up a little bit here. Let's see. I believe it goes like this. I did not take into consideration the wires having to clear the place there. So I think I can just pinch them together and it'll be fine. Yeah, I think that's going to work. And I'm going to take the smaller screws that came to attach that, and when we go back later and install the landing gear is when we will take out the smaller screws and put in the longer ones to account for the extra material. And of course, what I was using for the flux is the actual tool that I need to screw in the screws here for the arms. So I'm going to go ahead and just do this hand tight first. Get them started. Definitely don't want to cross thread anything. Okay, one in. Got the next one. I'm just going to do these kind of snug-ish. I might even just turn it upside down. That might be the answer. There are two colors, red and white, for the motor arms. Reason being is to be able to give you a visual on the direction in which the drone is traveling. So I'm going to put the red on the front when the white on the back. That'll tell me if it's coming at me, I'll see the red, and if it's flying away from me, I will know because I see the white legs. So we're going to go with that. Feed these in here. Well, that's not working out as planned, so I'm just going to go back to just making it happen any way I can. I'm thinking I'm kind of roughhousing it with these, not really supporting these wires. But if they do come undone, well, then it wasn't done right to begin with, and I'll have to go back and fix it anyway. So I'd rather know now. It'd be easier to correct, and then have something fail while I'm in flight. Okay. Last leg. The next thing we want to do is go ahead and attach with zip ties the ESCs to the motor arms. Okay, so I'm going to have to go get that. Some zip ties to do that. So let me go ahead and just place these modules where they're going to go. So I want to try to keep the cabling as neat as possible. And after we zip tie these ESCs to the motor arms, the next step is going to be to go ahead and install the bottom plate. And I guess, yeah, the bottom plate. That way these aren't flopping around. Okay. So first thing, I'm going to feed it up through the leg here. Call that good right there. I don't know, do I need another one around the actual ESC itself? Yeah, I probably do. Let's do that. Hopefully these orange ones are going to be long enough to go over and around. Oh, that looks kind of hokey. I'm not digging that at all. I'm going to go with that for right now. Just with the wires itself. Just for now. Then we'll see what we got to deal with here in a bit. And if so, I might just get some longer zip ties to go around the ESC body itself. All right. So we got the ESCs connected. If I did it right, the red control arms will be facing forward. Let's see if I can't get this situated. And the next step is for the top plate. And the top plate is going to go right here on top. And there's some flex in it because just the bottom plate's connected right now. So let me go ahead and get this started. Just get finger tight, not even finger tight, just get them started. And then we'll go ahead and wrench on them here. in a little bit. So pretty simple. I mean, it's more assembly than anything else. That's why I said earlier that it would probably be a more interesting drone build if you actually designed it yourself and did all the research that you needed to do as far as what size airframe, how much power you're going to need, you know, controller, the whole 9 yards. And that way, when you get it done, it takes off and you're doing what you want to do with it. It's because you designed it to do that. Here we are with the next step. I'm going to go ahead and put on the landing gear. And here they've provided longer screws than we were using. Like I had mentioned before, the extra material from the landing gear itself. There's only 2 screws here. So I'm going to take out these 2. Everything should be locked down, so this shouldn't really, as long as I don't move it, should be fine. All right, so far so good. This should help by keeping it up off the ground, and I'll be able to work on it, installing the motors and the propellers a lot easier than just having it lay flat on the surface, the desktop surface here. The frame is together. I've got the power distribution board is connected, or I've got the power control module and the ESCs soldered to it. And now I'm just tightening down the top plate completely. And then the next step is going to be to install the motors, balance the propellers, and then install the propellers onto the motors. And that's going to be the end of this week's video. Next week is going to be the avionics installation, and I'm assuming configuring the controller and the flight controller after that. So we're going to go ahead and tighten this top plate down all the way. None of the solder connections have come undone, so that's good news. All right, that looks good. It looks stable. It's not going anywhere. All right, the next step is going to be installing the 4 motors that we have here. They are Emax Grand Turbo. I don't know how large a motor they are. $930 kV, kilovolts, I don't know. Maximum thrust is 750 grams. You know, even here, this motor gives you the specifications and even says the ESC recommended is an 18 amp. So designing your own should be fairly easy. Again, I'll find out as time goes on. When after this course, I go ahead and do that. It comes with all the pieces needed: the hub, screws, the motor itself. Our next step is to go ahead and install the motor. Okay, we're going to take this motor and we're going to go ahead and attach it to the motor arm. So I'm going to go ahead and feed the wires through the frame underneath. And then I'm going to come up from underneath with the screw and secure it to the motor to the frame. I think we've got one of the screws started. We're going to go ahead and start the other 3 screws on this motor to make sure that everything's going to line up. Even though the drone came with 2 different size lengths of screws, neither was long enough. But the frame manufacturer provided the proper length screws to attach the motor to the frame. So that worked out real good. Get these cinched down. And I don't know if I'm doing it the right way, but the way I think about it is I'm going to go ahead and attach and strap down the motors before I go about balancing and installing the propellers. So it doesn't make any sense to me to balance the propellers, set them aside, and then put them on, you know, after I attach the motors. I'm going to balance each propeller, and after I balance it, I'm going to actually install it at that point. I just don't want to risk having any damaging while it's sitting off to the side. Okay, that is that motor. Motor's attached. ESC's strapped down. So I'm going to go ahead and situate, hopefully, this propeller balancer. Okay, the next step is to balance the propellers. So to do that, we're going to use a prop balancer. So I'm going to take the attachment here and place one of the props in it, and then we will set it up in this little base and determine if the props are balanced. If they are, great. If not, we're going to use the add to method, where we will add a little bit of electrical tape to the side that is light until we get them balanced. So to start that, we're going to go ahead and get this in place. Okay, looks like it's heavy on the left-hand side. So I had added some tape to this earlier. So now I've taken that tape off. We'll try this again. It appears to be heavy on the left side. So we're going to go ahead and add this piece of tape, just a small strip, to the side that is light. It'll require some trial and error to get it to balance. So let's see. And it's staying where it's placed. I'm going to go ahead and move that tape out a little bit further of the prop blade. Give it a little more leverage to balance out. So let's move that in. Let's see, this is the one. I'm going to call that balanced. You know, it's not like this is a digital calibrated device. So I'm going to call that good. I'm going to go ahead and place this prop. So this should be counterclockwise. This motor, the front right, if I remember correctly, is a counterclockwise driven, and this is a counterclockwise prop. So this prop is also counterclockwise, and it's going to go back here on this back arm. So let's go ahead and get that on. Have these props on the proper motors, and we're going to go ahead and try the back left prop. I'm going to call that balanced, and we're going to move on to the next prop. Set this back here and put a cap on it. Snug those down. All right. This is a clockwise prop. I'm going to call this one balanced. Put that over here. Get a cap. And the final prop. It's being suspended with two magnets. So let's see where we're at here. Okay, and we're going to call that balanced as well. So only one of the props did we have to add tape to it in order to get it to balance, and so the rest of these props are good to go. So we got the props balanced and installed onto the motors with the cap. Okay, that concludes today's portion of the build. So far, we have completed prepping the power distribution board by soldering the power control module to it, to include soldering the 4 electronic speed controllers to the power distribution board. We then attached the 4 arms for the motors and the top plate. And we then attached the motors, keeping a clean installation by running the wires through to the bottom of the motor arm for connection to the electronic speed controllers. We have also, using tie straps, strapped the wires to the control arms to keep them nice and tight and out of the, and I wanted to make sure that the tension was taken off of the solder connection points, how I connected them. So that concludes this portion of the build. Next week, I'm going to be posting a video where I add on the navigation components and the autopilot. And then we'll be programming the autopilot. So if you would, like, share, and subscribe. And we'll see you next time. Thanks.